Only one more race to go before we will set things up for the season finale in Miami. But for now, we get set to eliminate 4 more drivers. What better place to do it than at the track too tough to tame? It's the Lady in Black. It's the Darlington Raceway. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Green Flight TV. My name is Lorenzo, alongside Josh Baird. We are bringing you all of racing action from start to finish for the final race of the round of 8. It's elimination night and the penultimate round of season number 2 of the Monday Night Cup Series. Josh, this day has been a long time coming. After today, only 4 drivers will remain, and you know for a fact it is going to be an all-out slugfest here tonight, with it effectively the winner takes all for the final transfer spot.
Yeah, Nolan, this track is going to be one of those nights I just feel like we're going to see a lot of checkers or wreckers. People that really feel like that they need to give it all out, all in tonight to make that count. And I just look at the standings right now. It's so tight between some of these guys trying to make that final cutoff spot that it's going to be an epic night. Probably going to be one of the best races we've seen so far this season.
You take a look, right? The final 4 make it in. Justin Pink, Scott Shire, tied for that final spot right now, entering tonight. Dalton Kilroe, only 2 points to the good. Tony Hilbrand's only 5 to the good. Only 5 points out is Brian Diesel, Michael Thorp Jr. Ty Marasco needing a miracle tonight if he wants to find his way in. But you effectively have got 2nd through 7th, severed by only 10 points. It is all to play for this afternoon.
Yeah, that's one of the perks about this playoff system. I know it comes with a lot of controversy, but man, does it give those guys that opportunity to claw their way back into the championship and fight for those final 4 spots. So seeing 7 guys tonight having that opportunity to lock themselves into the top 4 has just got me super excited about this race. I think it's going to be my favorite one so far this season.
The Darlington Raceway has long been host to many, many entertaining races, oftentimes when it comes to the strategy more than anything. And I can tell you right now, there's going to be a lot of strategy to figure out who wins this race. I seldom get so excited for playoff elimination races, but this is one I absolutely cannot wait for. No matter who you root for, I think we can very much guarantee that we are going to be seeing 4 very worthy drivers getting set to duke it out at Homestead Miami Speedway just 7 days from today.
This has been the story of High Tide Racing League all season. It's never been one where it's like one guy's just totally dominant. I mean, you can talk about Nick Nickerson or, like the likes of Nick Nickerson or Benjamin Lacey maybe being quote-unquote more of the dominant side of the drivers. Maybe Tony Hilbrand could be in that conversation as well. But really, I feel like it's been a constant discussion on who's going to be at what place at the end of the day. And every week has been such a surprising finish. And I think this race is going to be no different.
Just watching Ty Marasco, one of the final playoff drivers that needs to put down a qualifying lap, trying to see if he can't put himself on pole. Right now, Nick Nickerson holds the pole spot, and if he can't, if Ty Marasco can't get up there, then that means that's one crucial bonus point that no playoff drivers are going to be getting this afternoon. The only other points you'll be getting so far, I believe, are for a 0x, finishing the race with a 0x, and then any driver that leads a lap will be given a bonus point as well. With the course, regular points, 43 for first, 42 for second, and so on and so forth, all the way down the field. Marasco only good enough for number 12, and he's not going to go for lap number 2.
Marasco is going to be on his back foot coming out of this. That's not going to help his ability to find his way into the final 4, starting in position number 12. But Ty Marasco has been one of those guys so far this season. It doesn't really matter where he starts. He always finds himself in a position to finish well. So I wouldn't put it past him to finish where he needs to be tonight.
Well, with all of that said and done, qualifying has wrapped on up. It's time to see who will be out and who will be in, who will get set to go for one more chance, and who will be leaving this track heartbroken on an absolutely beautiful Monday night. Let's take a look at that starting grid. Nick Nickerson starts on the pole with Aaron Smith down in the number 2 spot. Michael Thorp Jr. brings it up in 3rd in the captain seat for the playoff drivers. Starting to his outside, though, it's points leader, Benjamin Lacey. Justin Ping starts in the 5th spot. He is currently right on the bubble, tied for that final spot, needing desperately to get in. Dalton Kilroe eliminated, not eliminated, but 2 points up from being eliminated. He is up in that 6th spot. Scott Shire then, and Tony Hilbrand's round out row number 4. Taylor Butcher Benjamin and Sean Williams for the top 10.
Brian D's starting out at 11th tonight. Ty Marasco's got his work cut out for him if he wants to make the playoff from 12th. Zachary Wareham sitting in 13th. Connor Gibson's going to be in 14th tonight with David Leakey 15th. Jason Greenwell 16th. 17th is Kevin Foster with 18, being Bob Berry.
So many drivers ready to go at it once again for racing action this afternoon. You take a look at some of the drivers that are desperately needing good points tonight. Michael Thorp Jr. in particular, right? Starting third place, but he needs 6 points so far if he wants to be secure into the playoff run. How aggressive is he going to be then to hold on to whatever spots he can muster?
Yeah, Michael Thorp, it looks like he really came out swinging tonight. I bet he put his...
We got one on the wall.
We have an incident already. It looks like somebody may have tried to warm up the tires.
Zachary Wareham.
Zachary Wareham puts it in the wall, trying to warm up the tires. That's, kind of one of those embarrassing instances. Going back to Thorp, though, it looks like he put his practice in this week as he's starting third. We'll expect to see him giving it 110% tonight as we get ready to go green here at Darlington.
Well, that incident, testament potential of what we're in for this afternoon, could be a wild one. We're happy to join us on the Monday night for Elimination Night. It's go, go, go from Darlington. Lots of jockeying for position deeper in the field. Nick Nickerson leading lap number 1 to green. The rest of the pack slicing and dicing behind as everybody tries to scramble to hang on to whatever spots they can get. Critically, Thorp in that critical playoff position is up and into second.
Thorp doing a great job of putting himself in a proper position tonight to set himself up for a good final run in the top 4. Same with Benjamin Lacey as he begins to take that final spot on the podium. Dustin Ping looking down to the inside of Tony Hilbrands. This has got to be one of the more difficult car track combinations you could possibly come up with in iRacing. So I expect to see a lot of guys tonight really struggling to keep this car underneath them. But man, at Rockingham, that was probably one of the more difficult car track combinations, I would say. Up in line, maybe tied, maybe even a little more difficult than Darlington, and they kept it green the entire race. So hoping to see that same effect from here tonight.
Two drivers that are already in the green for points this afternoon. Dalton Kilroy and Tony Hilbrands working their way through the field. Hilbrands on the move to the inside of the MFRD number 41 and looking like that Mopar 92 could be trying to find his way up to the 4th spot early on, but Dustin Ping waiting in the wings. He is desperate to try to get himself with a good run. Right now, the top 4 remain unchanged. Look at Ping sliding to the inside, and that could be disastrous. He was already on the bubble, and that right there puts him out of the top 4.
Dustin Ping having an epic loose moment coming out of that corner, but he also saved it, so he has another chance to redeem himself. But man, that's not a great way to start out at lap number 5 here at Darlington. So we'll have to see if he can really recover from that drive. It's going to take a lot of patience as this track is not very helpful in creating a lot of multi-groove racing. So he's going to have to time his opponents carefully, wait for them to make a mistake, and try and capitalize on that.
Huge moment there for Dustin Ping. He now finds himself all the way down to this field, and with a good bit of side-by-side action up the road as well. Taylor Butcher Benjamin and Sean Williams going side-by-side. Zachary Wareham already down to the pit road early on, not looking to have himself with a good run, and that's a drive-through looks like for that machine. Sorry, mistake on that. He did stop at his pit stall, took a fast repair, so a 6-second stop for Wareham puts him back on track, but now down a lap early on at Darlington.
Yeah, Zachary Wareham, unfortunate error, pretty controversial, as that you usually don't have accidents going under the caution flag there. Just an unfortunate self-made mistake, probably. We didn't get a chance to actually see the replay in case it was a tag from another teammate or another opponent there. But here we go. We got Thorp looking down to the inside of Nickerson going into turn number 1 here. Nickerson looks like he just let up. Oh, as it looked like a great dive by Thorp below that dotted line. to get underneath him and then slide back up the track to take that position over from Nickerson.
Michael Thorp Jr. into the lead of this race, and with Dustin Ping so far down, I believe, don't quote me, that should put Thorp into the final bump spot right now. We'll be looking to do those mathematical calculations before long. Now he's got the lead. Next goal, hang on to it. Nick Nickerson, meanwhile, still looking for second. Remember, these two drivers have history. They have been fighting side by side all season long. How eager is Nick going to be trying to fight it out with Thorp, knowing that Thorp is going for a critical final spot into Miami?
Yeah, I think we've talked to Nickerson earlier in the season. He doesn't want to be that fly in the ointment, if you will, for these guys as drivers, but he still wants his opportunity to race his race, right? So I think he's going to be a little bit respectful, but he's still trying to earn that top spot on the podium every race. So I think right here we're going to expect to see him settle in, since it's just lap number 9 of this race. And but maybe towards the end we'll see a little bit of his elbows come out as the checker flag starts to fall.
So far, racing action continuing on as normal. One of the big playoff battles for drivers that are in that playoff bubble. Dalton Kilroe, Tony Hilbrands looking to go side by side as they launch through turn numbers 3 and 4 to the front straightaway. Hilbrands once again hugging the inside, but Kilroe giving him nothing up top. A heads-up drag race down the front stretch and back around the one, but Hilbrands going to take it. Kilroe lifted early to let him have it.
Great job by Hilbrands executing that clean pass to get around Kilroe. And great job by Kilroe deciding to make that smart move. That's a great playoff move right there, to just let off and wait for that fight to come another day. This track is so difficult that there's plenty of opportunities for your opponents to make a mistake to capitalize on, instead of trying to push it on the track and create an incident.
All the while, you got drivers still further down the field that are trying to scrap it out with each other as well. There's a huge host of playoff drivers all in combat right here in the middle of this field. Scott Shire headed up the way, Ty Marasco, Dustin Ping, Brian Dees, all under the same blanket, and all of them trying to see who can come out on top. These drivers are the ones that were within 10 points of each other entering tonight, save for Ty Marasco, who was a good bit out. Marasco needs a lot of help here this afternoon if he wants to get himself into that final spot that right now Thorp's got a firm hold on.
Yeah, Marasco finding himself up 4 positions to get himself an 8th. That's the right direction you need to go if you're trying to make your way into the playoffs here. Aaron Smith finding himself reeling a little bit, as Aaron Smith is now down 6 positions and headed backwards.
Scott Shire fights his way up to the number 6 spot. You mentioned Aaron Smith starting to drop back a little bit. That number 70 car has been really strong in every race we've seen him at. I'm surprised to see Smith so deep into the midfield here. Usually we see him up in the top 5, the top 3. So to see him running barely an 8th and struggling to hang on to a top 10, very unlike this yellow vision number 70, but a lot of his speed tends to come after pit stops. So we might have to wait for another green flag slip up before we'll be seeing that number 70 back to the front.
Yeah, Aaron Smith, I've seen him, bounce around fields before, but he always seems to find his way back towards the front. Maybe there's some secret strategy going on to save some fuel early on in this race, but it's going to be hard to know until we get a little closer to these pit stop windows to see what he's up to, as it looks like Ty Marasco checks the wall just entering into the corner.
Down the front straightaway. Still a huge battle pack clumped up together. Don't forget the top 2 still within 0.2 of a second. Nick Nickerson has not let Thorp get any sort of in just yet. And right now that number 34 hanging on for the lead, but only by the smallest of margins. That 2 car is hounding the back bumper of the UNOH Mopar.
Yeah, that's a great job by Nick, just having that little bit of patience here. Like I said, this is a really tough track, and it's easy to make that mistake and let your opponent make that mistake so you can capitalize on that. later on in the race. I think Thorp is one of those guys that, you know, he can definitely get loose coming out of the corner if he pushes it a little hard. But if he's sitting out here in front, he tends to take it a little easier, and it's going to be a little harder to get a mistake out of him.
And further behind, Dalton Kilroe getting around Tony Hilbrands now, so these two going to exchange blows. Kilroe making the pass, and that puts Kilroe up to fourth. So we got as well the 41 car started the charge up to the point, and now the two practically pushing the 34 down the backstretch, trying to get him more of a gap.
Yeah, those guys are building a nice little gap on Benjamin Lacey, now a second and a half over him, and able to kind of stretch that out a little bit. This is a great way to prevent the other opponents from being able to catch you towards the end of this race. But look how close they are getting to the wall, going through the corner. You'll see them, you know, riding the wall in turns 3 and 4 as well. It's going to be really hard for us to see any of these guys without a single scrape of paint on their car throughout this race. It's just such a hard track to keep off the wall, because look at the gap. I mean, you're talking, you couldn't probably fit a third car there if you tried.
And you can tell a lot of these drivers embroiled in these grudge matches. These grudge matches are going to be going right down to pit stops. You see how much it's been single file so far all race long. Haven't seen too much in the way of on-track overtakes, and that is, of course, partially by design. You want to be absolutely positive that you're going to get yourself into a strong momentum run by the time this race comes to a close. Brian Dees slipping up. He'll drop one more spot. That's crucial, right? Dees was already on the outside looking in, so him going down another spot to Sean Williams, not ideal at all, especially now with Taylor Butcher-Benjamin looking for the inside.
He made a mistake going down the front stretch, bouncing off the wall 1 or 2 times. That slowed him up enough. But Taylor Butcher-Benjamin's now in the sights of his rearview mirror, looking to the inside, going down the back stretch. He might have enough going into turn number 3 here, looking down, getting just below that dotted line to get underneath him. And now he's got a good momentum boost going through 3 and 4, and that allows him around Brian Dees. So Brian Dees down another spot.
And then up the road, Ty Marasco and Dustin Ping gonna make contact down to the turn number 1. So Ty Marasco moves up another spot. Dustin Ping drops a place. Crucial moves being made here as Ty Marasco picks off Dustin Ping.
Ty Marasco, Dustin Ping, 2 playoff contenders here. That's not what Dustin Ping needs if he wants to have his shot in the top 4 going into the final round. He's going to have to find his way around Ty Marasco once again, going down the front stretch. He's right on his rear bumper. I think he might have what it takes to get that pass executed once again, but it looks like Williams is looking to the inside now. Dustin Ping into the wall.
Huge hit into the wall for Dustin Ping. That'll cost him. Back to Sean Williams. Taylor Butcher-Benjamin going to fire through as well. So Ping loses 2 more spots. Devastating news here. He's only going to end up losing 1 as Butcher-Benjamin will cut back in line. But Ping now with heavy damage on the right side of that race car.
Yeah, devastating move for Dustin Ping. That's going to set him back quite a bit, as it looks like Marasco is beginning to ride away from him there. So he's got to find a way around Sean Williams pretty quickly here and get his way back up to Ty Marasco. He's got to get his bearings straight. I'm sure he's a little flustered right now after that contact, but man, if you can get that focus back really quick, there's plenty of laps left here for him to get that position back and find his way back into the playoff mix.
So here are the updated playoff standings. As of right now, this is very much unofficial, but currently Benjamin Lacey still with the lead. Hilbrand second, Kilroe third. No surprises there. Michael Thorp Jr., if he continues to lead the way, he could score a maximum of 3,118 points, up to 300,119 if he can finish this race without a 0x. That has not been official yet, but you take a look, right? That is only 1 point clear of Scott Shire. The problem is, Shire's got room to improve. Thorp does not. So Thorp's really got to hope that Shire cannot improve right now, because Thorp's chances on taking that championship, they don't get much better if he finishes anywhere outside of a race win.
Yeah, Thorp has a really tough time cut out for him. Unfortunately, for the past couple of races, he's had really unfortunate finishes to his events, so that really set him on his back foot coming into this race, and it's going to take another miracle drive for him to be able to overcome that, because Shire, you know, may not be like the Benjamin Lacey, Nick Nickerson of a bunch of wins so far this season, but he's found himself exactly where he needs to be so far this season to be able to get himself in position as he approaches Hillbrands right now. So this is not looking good for Thorp.
Not at all. If my math is correct on this, that would put Shire and Thorp tied for that final critical playoff spot, in which case it goes to countback. So you have to now wonder where this is all going to pan out for these drivers. Bob Berry's in a pit road, and this is for a meatball flag. So Bob Berry has had a heck of a time somewhere on the racetrack.
Not surprised by that at all. This track is just so tough to tame, and that's why it gets, you know, its nickname is because it's such a tough track. It forces you to ride those top two lines around this track, and just staying off that wall is a heavy ask for these guys, even for 150 laps. It's a really difficult proposition to keep off the wall. And here he comes out of the corner there and chucks it right into the straight line there.
Oh boy, Nick Nickerson also with problems. He may also be down with damage. Pretty early for a pit stop, so the number 2, having found the outside fence, he's going to be down in the pit road. And that should bump everybody else up 1.
Yeah, that's totally unfortunate for Nick Nickerson. Not the type of race he wanted to have. Being a part-time driver, when you come out, you really want to have those good outings. So unfortunate event for him. That leaves Thorp with a nice little gap over Lacey, now 2.3 seconds over Lacey, so that gives him a little breathing room there. If Thorp really wants to execute a good race win tonight, this is his chance, because it's just been handed to him by Nick Nickerson.
You see Ty Marasco trying to fend off Dustin Ping around the outside. Marasco knows he needs every single point that he can muster, and right now he's not getting a lot of that, so he needs to get every spot that he can possibly handle. Marasco trying to see if he can't fend off Dustin Ping. Ping, though, looking like he might be trying to hunt down the inside and towards turn number 3. This could be a big fight here, and of course between two drivers that are in critical playoff contention.
Yeah, great job by Dustin Ping, though, at keeping it patient. You don't want to rush yourself too early on in this race and create a mistake that will cost you even more positions than you already are right now. So Dustin Ping holding on to 8th position, that's a great way to help your chances in proceeding on to the next round of the playoffs.
So, of course, the big question is, how would the points fall if it's on countback, right? I mean, that's going to be, I think, the next big question a lot of these drivers are asking is Tony Hillbrand's going to be losing another spot here. That will be down to Aaron Smith now that Hillbrand's lost another one. He's now on a tie provisionally with Dalton Kilrow. If we're going by the typical run where countback is based first off of wins, then I believe this would go the way of Scott Shire, because Shire has one more top 5 than Thorp has and 2 more top 10s. I don't see a way that Thorp wins this on countback.
Yeah, that is not a good look for, whoa, as we got somebody dive way down into the apron there, found his way back up. But and Dustin Ping getting a little loose coming out of the corner there as well. So maybe these tires are beginning to wear out for these guys. We're going to start seeing some sketchy moves here pretty soon. But yeah, unfortunately for Thorp, he's finding himself on his back foot. Even though he's still leading, he's still got a tough task of completing this task of finding his way into the top 4. But I've seen him pull off some crazy stuff so far this season. So I would not be surprised if he can pull off another crazy stunt here.
A lot of the front runners starting to break away. Nick Nickerson way down the field now, a lap down after having to pit early, but because he pitted about 6 laps where everybody else is due to, he could very well cycle back to the front. We'll see where this is going to pan out for him after all of this is said and done. Right now, he got a whole chunk of this field getting set to come down to pit road with the pit stop window opening this lap by.
Window opening this lap by, it's going to make for interesting green flag stops. The beautiful thing about this track is the apron is so large that it does kind of make it a little bit easier to conduct those green flag stops. So I don't expect to see too many issues from these drivers tonight in regards to that. They have plenty of room to work with when it comes to the pit stop entry and exit. You know, that's also a crucial conversation to have is, you know, timing those pit stops well, because once they go, oh, timer has to go bouncing off the wall. But back to what I was saying, timing that is 1 or 2 seconds in pit lane is half a track out there on the track.
So right now, a whole host of drivers trying to see where they're going to come out on top of when it comes to the end of this pit stop window. Thorp again out by almost 4 seconds. Lacey then 2 seconds clear of Dalton Kilrow. And then, of course, Shire, Smith, and Moore all in a big line. Everybody's starting to break apart. When do pit stops occur? Estimated time was about lap, you were looking for about lap 36 to 40. We're about halfway through that window now.
Yeah, I expect to see these guys stay out as long as humanly possible to extend that tire life. Oh, as we got Benjamin Lacey dipping down, Aaron Smith dipping down as well. Aaron Smith closed a lot of that gap over that run there, so he was actually faster out on the longer run, which makes me surprised to see him diving down so early. I figured he would be taking advantage of having that really good run there towards the end, but he decides to go down early.
He's not the only one. Aaron Smith, Dustin Payne, Taylor Butcher Benjamin, Michael Thorp Jr. realizes his lead could be under threat, so he is not going to be about to be undercut. He comes down to pit road the very next lap. And Dalton Kilrow's in, Shire's in, Hillbrands is in, Sean Williams is in. So the whole field looks like coming down pit road just about. Marasco and Dees, the only 2 to stay out. Team MFRD, save for Kilrow. As always, going long.
Yeah, that's totally expected from MFRD. Oh, the transition was really close there, and Thorp cannot afford anything like that to be an issue. So glad that that was a smooth transition between those two.
Waiting in the pits for a pit stop like this when you know you're in such a critical position, critical situation is agonizing. Thorp, though, weathers the storm. He gets himself back out of pit road. Now, critically, where's Benjamin Lacey? Lacey is diving down in the turn numbers 1 and 2. Thorp already out of turn 2 and onto the back straightaway. Thorp should retain his race lead.
Yeah, great job by Thorp executing a perfect pit cycle there. I think when he's out in the front of the field like this, he just has his best races. So I expect to see Thorp just have a great outing tonight and hopefully not make any mistakes. I'm not trying to commentators curse him at all tonight, but I really think when he's out front, that's when he puts in his best work. So now he's going to have a decent sized gap over Lacey, and I really think he's going to be able to take off again.
So Ty Marasco, the last driver to pit. He'll have to do some shuffling around to the points. Nick Nickerson has retaken the race lead, and that could be absolutely massive for Thorp. How massive? We'll tell you in just a moment once everything is done with these calculations here. But right now, it's not looking good for that 34 car. That battle for the final bump spot is going to be the one to watch all night long. I can tell you that right now.
Yeah, there's going to be so many changes. If we get some people going out of where their sequences are in the pits, it's just going to throw a huge curveball into the whole leaderboard right now. So, you know, Shire being in 7th position is kind of helpful for Thorp at this point. But we found him earlier before the pit cycles. He was sitting in 4th place. So that was devastating for Thorp to have him sitting that high. So we really have to see if there's going to be any sort of cautions or incidents that are going to throw a wrench in this final playoff race before the finale.
Tell you what, Thorp is charging. He just set the fastest lap of the race last time by. Put down a 30.69. This car is moving, trying to get himself back to the race lead to get around Nick Nickerson.
Yeah, once again, Thorp, I just think he's the guy that when he's out front, he puts in his best work. So we're going to see him on a tear tonight. And it's going to be really tough for Lacey to try and close that gap now. 3 seconds that he has over Lacey, and it's probably going to get worse throughout the race as long as these, the lap cars stay out of the way there. Bob Berry doing a good job of staying to the outside, but man, does he get tight in the turns here at Darlington.
Right, so again, very unofficial but updated championship standings. Looks a little something like this. Thorp out on count back from Scott Shire. As it stands, they are unofficially, oh boy, Green with a big moment off of turn 4. But unofficially, Shire and Thorp are tied for the final playoff spot. Shire's got more top 5s, he's got more top 10s, they're even on wins. So assuming that's the order that they do, count back into the High Tide Race League, we'll need to get confirmation on them from that after this race. But assuming that, Shire beats Thorp on countback into the final spot. Thorp has to retake that race lead. Right now, he's in a must-win scenario.
Yeah, Thorp definitely executing to the best of his possible ability to lock himself in that final playoff position for sure. It's going to take a little bit of a miracle, but it's definitely possible, and it definitely helps that he's on his way to catch Nick Nickerson right now as he just dropped another 10th as I was speaking.
The problem for him, of course, and this is the problem that Shire's hoping to make for him, if Shire can close 3 seconds in on Dalton Kilroe and make the pass, well, that's it. Then a must-win scenario doesn't matter because Shire would have the points on him regardless.
Yeah, Shire is also driving really well tonight. He's got about a 3-second gap to close here on Kilroe, but that's not too tough to ask of Shire. So I think we're just going to really see a lot of moments tonight that is going to make us wonder all the way until the last lap on who's going to make that final 4th spot.
Jason Greenwell dropping several positions right now as he is falling through the field. I think he may have caught the outside wall a little while ago. We saw him having a bit of a nervy moment. He doesn't have a lot of visible damage on that car, but it doesn't mean there's not something going on underneath the surface. And that 83 machine has been all over the place the last 10 laps or so. And almost went into the wall again off of 2.
Yeah, and another thing is, too, when you get a guy that kind of gets loose out of a corner or whatnot, they get a little more cautious, trying to understand what caused them to have that issue, and then try and tackle that speed again. But sometimes it's worse than others when it comes to being overly cautious and beginning to lose positions. So that may be the case with Greenwell, where he's like, that was too sketchy. I need to figure out where this car's limit is again. So he backed off a little bit. But it looks like Thorp has tracked down our leader.
He sure has. But catching is one thing, passing's another. He's going to have to give it everything here. Looks to the inside, to the middle of 1 and 2. A bold move, and he's going to clear him on the exit of turn number 2. Thorp is back to the lead, and with that, he is back and into the playoff spots.
Wow, that was a bold move by Thorp, and man, what a momentum run he had over Nick Nickerson there. I don't know if Nick's tires are just shot at this point or what, but he is looking slow right now after being just a couple laps away from having to pit himself.
Well, he pitted 10 laps earlier for damage, remember? So he's on 10-lap older tires than everybody in the field. And we've seen before, even 3 laps makes a huge difference in these cars.
Yeah, the tire technology has changed quite a bit over the years, so tire degradation a real factor in these Gen 4 Cup cars. and they're doing a great job in order to keep them under them and not create any incidents. But we've seen some sketchy situations so far that shows us that these cars can become a handful over the entire run.
So right now, Benjamin Lacey runs in the points lead. There's absolutely nothing that's going to stop Lacey from getting into the Final Four. I think for Lacey, he doesn't care who wins this thing so long as he finishes. I mean, he is definitely trying to get himself in with a good momentum drive because, of course, well, he's your points leader. Why wouldn't he? And he's looking to go 2 for 2 on the championships in the High Tide Racing League. Won the first one in convincing fashion because practically every driver racing against him in the final race dropped out of the race for one reason or another. He's hoping it'll be the same thing this time around, but I have a feeling he won't be so lucky.
No, it's definitely been tight for contention for the spots out here in the standings in the High Tide Racing League so far this season. And I think Benjamin Lacey's really been given a run for his money from every other competitor out on the field. So he's definitely out here giving it his all right now to make sure that he has the best foot forward going into the final race.
So your playoff drivers, Thorp, Lacey, Kilbro, and Thorp, right now are all in. Scott Shire needs to make up 4.3 seconds if he wants to get into the final race as well and race for a championship. As it stands, Hilbrands, I think, Hilbrands is still in. Dustin Ping, Brian Dees, and Ty Marasco right now are out. Dustin Ping is out by 5. Brian Dees is out by 13. And Ty Marasco, it is now mathematically impossible for Marasco to point his way in. So Ty Marasco's championship hopes will end here at the track Too Tough to Tame.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate for Ty Marasco because for a lot of the season he was sitting second in the points. But I think when push came to shove, it was just a tough ask for him to continue that streak, and I think he had a few unfortunate incidents in the previous races that really set him on his back foot as well. So tough time for Ty Marasco wrapping up his season, but man, making it this far in the season in the championship is something worth hanging your hat on, getting ready to go into next season as well. So even though he may not make that cut tonight, he still should be proud of the ability to get himself where he's gotten himself so far this season. And yeah, good job for Ty Marasco.
Brian Dees, still a driver that is mathematically not out, but he needs a miracle. Brian Dees needs to somehow make up 13 points before the end of this race if he wants to get himself in with the championship. Dalton Kilroe just got around Nick Nickerson, made up another spot, and that should allow for Kilroe to jump Tony Hilbrands in the point standings as well. I think, again, don't quote me, this is all super, super unofficial. We're running with this as the crow flies effectively right about now.
Yeah, it's really tough to do math and produce this show at the same time. So it's going to be tough for us to keep up with that. We don't have a mathematician sitting behind the scenes. It's literally Nolan trying to run the cameras and do the unofficial playoff situation at the same time. So bear with us with our numbers here. They may not be 100% accurate. But the other thing is, too, man, one of these guys wrecks, and it's really going to spin up the playoff situation here. So we can't forget that there is even a possibility that one of these guys ended their race early.
I mean, not even if one of these guys wrecks. If anybody on the track wrecks, playoff driver or not. And we've already seen a few close calls, right? I mean, Connor Gibson's out of the race for damage. Wareham is out of the race for damage. Bob Berry is out of the race for damage. There's only 15 cars left on the racetrack right now, and 2 of them are a lap down. So there is absolutely no room to breathe right now on this racetrack. I could not think of a more fitting venue for the final test of skill to see who really deserves to be in the Final Four.
Yeah, that's where my love-hate for Darlington comes in. It's such a tricky track that you're going to see a lot of guys go out through attrition, but it also makes for some epic battles for those that remain. And this, like you said, they couldn't have picked a better track to have the final playoff cutoff spot, because it's such a unique and iconic venue that's going to allow for us to have these kind of conversations throughout the race where we're not 100% sure who's going to come out on top in the end.
Oh, Benjamin Lacey caught the outside wall. That could give up a spot to Aaron Smith. He'll keep the momentum up. Not like he has to worry about it points-wise, but it's more a question of does a caution come out as he's way loose in turn 4.
Way loose in turn 4 for Benjamin Lacey. He really needs to keep it underneath him if he wants to finish well tonight. But another guy, Aaron Smith, man, what the heck? We talked about him earlier just being down, near 12th, 13th position. And now he's fighting for that second spot on the podium once again. So guy that was reeling early on in the race has found his way back up towards the front.
Benjamin Lacey way up the road, still on an absolute tear down the racetrack on the front straightaway. And no signs of slowing down yet. Second run of pit stops, not too far away either. Lacey catches the outside wall again.
Yeah, Lacey not having a good time. He is not comfortable with how this car is handling right now, just praying for the opportunity to go down and get some fresh rubber and get himself a little bit of a breather while going through the pit cycle. So he needs to get this figured out here, because he's going to make a big mistake here pretty soon, and he's going to upset the whole field with a caution.
Other close battles on the racetrack. Scott Shire on the move. Remember, Shire has got to make up one more spot and finish within the top 5. If he does so, he can beat Thorp on count back if he finishes in the 5th, and on points outright if he finishes 4th on up. He has just caught Nick Nickerson, and he's looking to go around the outside of him in towards turn 1. Not going to happen around the outside of 4. To the inside, down the front straightaway.
A little bit of a sketchy moment there, but both the guys able to keep their composure, and I gotta imagine Nick's due for a pit stop here pretty soon, so he's just gonna cede that position over to Scott Shire, bumping his way into the top 5. Now he's got a bit of a gap if he wants to try and close that on kill row, but he's gonna have quite a bit of green air in front of him, clean air in front of him rather, to be able to track down Dalton Kilrow.
So Shire pulling away. Further behind, Taylor Butcher-Benjamin, Sean Williams scrapping it out for the 9th spot as well, and trying to make him some more ground as well. We are just shy of halfway and still with a lot of time left to go. So tell you what, with racing action only continuing to grow more and more intense from the Darlington Raceway, we'll take a step back, let things settle. When we return, there'll be more green flag pit stops at the Lady in Black. Welcome back to Green Flag TV. Green Flag pit stops just underway. Benjamin Lacey coming down and into pit road. And right now, everything is kicking off at the Darlington Raceway. It is extremely tight right now where everything's at with the points. And we'll look to update you once again once all of these pit stops cycle themselves through and we're back to normal.
Yeah, Lacey glad to be off those tires. He seemed to really be struggling in that final part of the stint there, and it looks like Shire and Hillbrand's 2 playoff contenders. Looks like Foster's down there as well, looking to get their service done at the same time. So going to be interesting to see how these guys play out and where they end up on the podium or on the leaderboard after this. But Thorp down in the pits as well. Kilrow now into the pits as we continue to see the green flag stops go underway.
We are well past the halfway point and still with no caution in sight. Ty Marasco looking like he'll be one of the last drivers to come down to pit road, just like last time. Nick Nickerson, meanwhile, another driver that's looking set to try to see if he can't take away the race lead. Rocketing off of turn number 4 down the front straightaway. Can he beat Thorp out of pit road? Yes. So Nickerson back to the race lead. No surprise there, but again, he is on now 12 lap older tires than everybody else behind him. So he is going to be caught pretty darn quickly here.
Yeah, and it looks like Smith overtook Thorp as well. So that's going to be interesting that Smith has now overtaken Thorp for the net race lead at this point. And it's going to be interesting to see how that all plays out towards the end.
I can tell you it plays out not ideal. Although that said, Scott Shire a long stop. Scott Shire in the box for 36 seconds. And that should be enough to allow for Thorpe to retain the final playoff spot.
Oh no, devastating move for Shire to get stuck in his pit stall for 36 seconds. That's exactly what we're talking about in the first round of stops. They cannot afford to make those kind of mistakes, and green flag pit stops is just too costly. Now Shire a lap down in 11th position right now. He's got a long ways to catch himself back up towards the front.
So now the big question is Dustin Ping. Shire's not in the picture anymore. Dustin Ping, though, was right there. So where does Ping lie in all of this? That is going to be the big ticket question here. He had 3,079 points. Entering racing action today, as it stands, he is tied with Thorpe. But this time, it's Thorpe that wins on countback in the battle with Dustin Ping.
What a major shakeup this recent green flag stop was for the leaderboards for the final position for the playoff spots here as Ty Marasco is heading down.
Look at all that damage. He's hit the wall big time.
He's going to have to use that fast repair if he has any left. It kind of looks like the car is cantered a little bit as he's entering into the pit lane here. You're gonna have to see if this is the time he takes the fast repair. Doesn't look like he may. Oh, there he goes. He took the fast repair there, so he gets his second chance to be able to redeem himself.
So Ty Marasco able to get back out onto the racetrack. Nickerson holds the lead. Thorpe is going to go to second. Aaron Smith is in third, so Thorpe made short work of Aaron Smith, and Thorpe again 3 lap fresher tires than Aaron Smith, and he pulled to the inside, and Aaron Smith saw it coming, did not want to fight it, let that 34 car through and up to the number 2 spot, and now we're about to see these 2 titans go at it once again.
Yeah, great job by Thorpe there going through that turn to overtake Aaron Smith. It looked great, and now he's doing the same with Nickerson straight away. He was able to make quick work of Nickerson through that corner and now back into the race lead. This is where he's been comfortable all night, so we're going to see him go ahead and take that lead once again and take off down this back stretch.
Just when you think the championship is over, it continues to escalate more and more and more in its intensity. drama picking up left, right, front, and center. The battle is on for the number 2 spot, though Aaron Smith should be able to easily drive away from Nickerson after getting around him. So Lacey effectively locked in. Tony Hillbrands, even though he's dropped several positions, I don't believe he has to worry too much about his current standing. He was already a good bit to the good. Dalton Kilrose should be fine. And now Thorp, the last driver that could be able to fight his way in.
Yeah, Thorp driving exactly how he needs to drive to get himself into that final spot of the playoffs. And just kind of looking through the field here with Shire, he is now 8 seconds back from being able to unlap himself, but he is the last guy, or the first guy 1 lap down. So given a caution, he can get himself back on the lead lap here, but not a very good look for Shire if he wants to continue his run into the playoffs.
Who would have thought that this is what the championship battle was going to come down to? Was a fight like this. I mean, I did not see this coming in the slightest entering today.
Yeah, I did not expect. I expected us to have an epic battle for the final spot of the playoffs, but man, what a wild twist of turns that we've seen so far this race, and we're just over halfway through. And I expect to see a lot more of that throughout the night, because this is a really tough track, and you know, mistakes, just the simplest mistakes, can be so costly here tonight.
I'm still at a loss for words. When we take a look at the battle with Dustin Ping, Taylor Butcher-Benjamin, Tony Hillbrands. Tony Hillbrands could be in a precarious position. He's actually down further than I thought, all the way back in that 8th spot. I think, in fact, by now, I think Thorp's actually jumped Hillbrands in the point standings with him being so far down the racetrack. So could actually Dustin Ping and Hillbrands now be in the battle for the last spot?
Yeah, Dustin Ping and Hillbrands could be in the battle right now. Hillbrands is not really having the greatest of races so far tonight. I feel like he started out pretty well. He started 8th and hasn't actually remained in that position throughout the race, so maybe not one of his better tracks that he's been to so far this season. But, you know, given his current situation, he had a little bit more wiggle room that he could give in tonight. Not too much, though, so he needs to start picking up the pace a little bit, maybe overcome some of these other drivers, and make his way back towards the front to make sure he has a good spot, setting himself up for the final race of the season.
Cutting back to the very much unofficial point standings. Looking like Hillbrands and Ping are in a tie for that final playoff spot. But if it stands like this, Hillbrands, I'm thinking, should easily be able to go for that cut. So I think I think Hillbrands is fine. I'm going to double check just to make sure everything is still in fine standing entering today. But I have no reason to see why Hillbrands. Yeah, Hillbrands, I mean, 16 top 10s, 12 top 5s. Dustin Ping, not even half the amount of top 5s, and only 12 top 10s. So on every account, Hillbrands beats Ping on countback. So Hillbrands doesn't need to worry about it. He just can't afford to lose one more spot.
Yeah, and look who's 2 positions in front of him. You got Dustin Ping sitting right up there. Now 1 position in front of him is Taylor Butcher-Benjamin. Dives down to the center of the apron there on the back stretch. That gives him a chance to close in. Oh, as he bounces off the wall. Not a good shot for Hillbrands. Overshot that a little bit, trying to close that gap on Ping. He really needs to dial Ping in if he wants to overtake him and get that position overtaken, so that way he can make sure he makes that cutoff.
Well, right now he's fine. He just made up a point by getting on Taylor Butcher-Benjamin, so they're no longer tied. Hillbrands is up by 1. He just can't lose that spot again.
Yeah, but I think if I were Hillbrands, I would definitely make sure that I was 2 points ahead of the guy in
Oh,
front of me,
absolutely.
just to give myself that extra cushion there. So he's going to be tracking him down big time as Lacey overtakes Aaron Smith.
So Lacey back up to the number 2 spot. 1.3 seconds behind Michael Thorp Jr. Does Lacey have anything for that GGA Esports number 34? Right now, Thorp has been in control all day. This UNOH Dodge has been completely mistake-free. He cannot let that pressure get to him. If he does, it is all over. Brian Dees way down on the racetrack. Ty Marasco blitzes past the 17. What happened here? Oh, caught the wall. Big. Oh, and then the inside wall.
Wow, that's got to be devastating to the car's stability. So hopefully he doesn't have too much damage and has to go take care of that in the pits, off cycle from his pit stall. But I think I'm going to bring up a little controversy when I talk about Hillbrands being on the bubble. That was due to the fact that last week at Bristol, when he was racing for the lead in the final couple laps, he ran into an issue with Haggy.
You're not wrong. He was set to win that race and got driven into from behind. Of course, no intent. It was just a matter of overdriving that turn 1, and what happened happened. Haggy not present here this afternoon, but Hillbrands, oh boy, Benjamin with a big tank slapper and into the wall. But Hillbrands recognizes he cannot afford to wait. He cannot afford another mistake like that. If he stays here, he should, in theory, be fine. But he wouldn't exactly want to take that chance, especially since it's my path doing the talking with that.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and give a 1 point leeway either direction for Hillbrands right now and assume that, you know, maybe the math's a little off, but at the same time, I'm sure he's sitting there cussing out Haggy right now for putting him in this position to make it so he really has to, you know, battle with Dustin Ping just to make sure he solidifies himself into the Final Four.
David Leakey got around Kevin Foster for the 13th spot to the U.S. Army Esports number 84, making a pass up on the Mountain Dew Impala. And all of this with pit stops about halfway through this current stint, I want to say. Yeah, a little bit past halfway. Nick Nickerson, of course, you can tell he is going to be looking to come down pit road just a tick later than everybody else in this field. Or a tick earlier, I should say, by about 10, 11 laps, give or take. That'll, of course, shake up the running order, but after all of that, should be smooth sailing.
Yeah, we're getting into the closing stages of this race here. Just one more stop in the works for these guys, and then it'll be off to the races to get to that final stint of the track here. And so far, it's been issue-free with how these guys have kind of gotten stretched out. I can imagine that a full green flag running here at Darlington is not too far out of question here. But look at Shire catching up to these guys. He's got to get his lap back if he wants a chance to fight his way back into contention for the playoff spot. So he's kind of praying for that caution to come out sooner rather than later.
Tony Hillbrands jumping Michael Thorp again in the standings, and Dustin Ping will now be the one tied with Thorp for the final spot as Nick Nickerson makes his way into pit row. But again, this should still be all fine and dandy. There's still going to be one pit stop left to go for everybody in this field. This championship, man, oh boy, oh no. Thorp, okay, I thought for a moment Thorp dropped out. I saw him blinking, but then I saw him gone. I got real nervous for a hot minute, but it looks like he's back in it now. So Lacey for the number 2 spot. He's closing in on Thorp too. I mean, Lacey's not too far away. That could be a serious upset from Michael Thorp Jr.
Yeah, Thorp cannot afford to be having network issues right now. I would hate to see his season end on a technical difficulty. But he's had that happen once or twice before where he's blinked in and out and then he's come to later on in the race. But yeah, he's really got to maintain that gap, which means that he's got to perform that flawless execution, which he's done very well tonight, and keeping that ability to keep that up. And it looks like Ping's caught Hilbrands has caught Ping here, looking down to the inside, going through turns 3 and 4. Great job coming out side by side down the front stretch.
If my math is correct, 2nd through 5th of the points are separated by only 1. Have you ever seen a points battle that tight? I don't think I have. I mean, this is almost unprecedented.
Yeah, but that's just been the whole highlight of the High Tide Racing League this season. It's never been a situation where you think one guy's going to run away with it. I mean, you look at even back in the beginning of the season, it was like the first, 7 races had a different race winner every race. So High Tide Racing League just stepping up the competition this year with the Gen 4s. And this is a shout out to not only their capabilities to perform so well in these Gen 4 cars, but to show how good the competition of this era car really is.
So right now, Thorp is actually hoping that Hilbrands passes Dustin Ping. And here's why. If Thorp passes Dustin Ping here, yes, he's 1 more point away from Thorp being able to pass him. But Ping's 1 point underneath Thorp, and he doesn't have to rely on countback. He knows he can't catch Hilbrands right now because he can't get any more points than he's got. The best thing he can hope for is that Hilbrands puts his other competition further down the field.
You know, it's a little too late in the night for me to be thinking about that. My brain is beginning to unravel just thinking about all the possible outcomes that are going to come from this. But man, it's so cool to watch these guys duke it out to try and fight for these final positions in the playoffs here.
Aaron Smith to the inside of Benjamin Lacey and picks off the number 2 spot. So Smith, in yet another run, is up to the 2nd podium position. Lacey bumped down to 3rd.
Aaron Smith having a great run so far tonight. Like I said, he had that issue early on where it dropped him quite a far bit back, but man, this guy loves being towards the front of the field, and he's a really tough competitor every week that he shows up. But ooh, it looked like he had a little scrape there with the wall as he was headed down the back stretch. I think Benjamin Lacey's going to capitalize on that.
So Aaron Smith picks up the number 2 spot. Lacey running 3rd, just behind. The 785 driver going up against Yellow Vision. When do these guys come down to pit road? You pit now, you're good to go to the end. So right now, no more question as who's going to be able to make it to the end of this race, save for Nick Nickerson. Might have to come down one more time for a splash and dash. And in fact, Nick has taken himself out of the race.
Nick Nickerson deciding to park it for tonight. I think after that early race incident, it just set him on his back foot and he wasn't going to be able to strategize his way towards the front. So he's going to leave it to the rest of these guys to try and duke it out for those final positions, since he is a part-time driver. Taylor Butcher Benjamin headed down to pit road.
That'll allow Scott Shire and Ty Marasco, 2 playoff drivers, to pick up 1 more point. Brian Dees, meanwhile, is into pit road himself. So we're down to only having 13 cars in this race. 5 of them have now found themselves eliminated, and none of them with the results of there being any sort of caution.
That's been extremely amazing. I think one of the cooler facts about tonight so far is that they've been able to keep it green for over half of the race without a single caution so far. Because this is such a difficult car and it's such a difficult track, the expectation was high that there would be some form of yellow flag throughout the first half of this race, and there just hasn't been. So another testament to how talented these drivers are here.
The field is so incredibly spread out. Right now, the closest pairing is between Scott Shire and Ty Marasco, two drivers that are in some need of some critical playoff spots. Dustin Ping is into pit road this time by. So he is going to be in for his set of pit stops. Brian Dees is in as well, just behind. And in fact, it's a long stop for Brian Dees. I think he might be done as well, which would be absolutely devastating for his day. Game over for Brian Dees. He is out. Aaron Smith is in a pit road as well.
Yeah, Brian Dees had kind of a long shot to make his way in from where he had started on in the race. So unfortunate end to his season. It was a great run to make it this far into the playoffs anyway, but too bad he couldn't carry that on to the next session and going into the final race. But Benjamin Lacey down to get some service.
Yep, Benjamin Lacey comes down into the lane. And all of this with 35 laps to go. Pit window was between 34 and 40 laps, so we are right on cue. I do love it when pit strategy, like, just perfectly cycles through a race. I feel like we've got enough on our plates with a thrilling championship battle. We didn't need fuel mileage to make it any more dramatic.
Yeah, this has been pretty cut and dry for fuel strategy as it rolls, so that made it a little easier for us to be able to call the rest of this race. And that's not normally the case for the High Tide Racing League. I feel like that's been something that's always been a point of contention. I mean, you look at the Aaron Smith, I'll probably never forget that moment when he defied physics, what it seemed like with his fuel saving. And some of the other crazy moments that relied on alternate fuel strategies to give people the epic wins.
Tony Hilbrands is into pit road, and Michael Thorp Jr. is in, but right behind him. So Thorp was not far away from putting Hilbrands a lap down, it looks like, as they're both down to the pit road. Dalton Kilrow stays out. Scott Shire is in. David Leakey is in. Kevin Foster is in.
We're getting close to wrapping up the final pit stop here. It looks like Kilrow is going to be the final guy to take that service. And then everybody else is on their way out for their last stint here at the green flag running. And Thorp just doing a great job here tonight to put himself out in front all night and be able to get himself locked into the final four of the playoffs. He did exactly what he needed to do to overcome the odds tonight.
Don't say that now. It's not over. There's a lot that can happen in 32 laps.
Yeah, let's not jinx him, I suppose. But, man, up until this point, if he continues on the trend that he's been, he's definitely deserving of his final spot in the playoffs.
Dalton Kilrow pits in for the final time. This is going to be fascinating to see where all these points shake up after pit stops come on down. I believe we are waiting still on Ty Marasco, the last car, to come down to pit road. Everybody else is good to go to the end of this race.
Right now, Thorp is actually behind Lacey, as we see on the track here. So he's got some time to make up if he wants to get that final position. Seems like he's been a little more conservative on his stop so far this race, which is kind of it's okay to be a little more conservative on your green flag stops. You don't really want to push too hard. But at the end of the day, he's got to be able to find a way to catch Lacey and overtake him if he wants to take this lead back.
Oh my gosh, these blinking issues, man, are making me so nervous. I mean, it's only for a second at a time, but it's for a long time whenever it happens. It makes me nervous whenever I see a big playoff situation like this pans out. I've said it before, but it is the worst way to possibly have a championship decided is through netcode issues or internet issues, whatever. Sure, it's part of it, but it doesn't make it any less gut-wrenching.
I 100% agree with that. Technical issues, or even in real life racing or in sim racing, is always the worst way, because it feels like, oh, as Hilbrand's looked down to the inside there, it kind of seems like he was giving a little bit of a block to Thorp going through that backstretch, but Thorp looking around to the outside, doing a great job at overtaking Hilbrand's to chase down Lacey here.
So Thorp officially 1 lap down, Hilbrand's 1 lap down. Now the battle's on to see who comes out on top. Is it Lacey or is it Thorp? There's 28 laps to see who that's going to be.
Well, considering that Aaron Smith is 4 seconds ahead of him right now, what an epic stop that was for him to be able to pull a 4-second gap in that final stop here for Aaron Smith. That's going to throw another wrench in this right now, because as it stands with 27 laps to go, that's a lot of not very much time for Thorp to be able to catch Aaron Smith and pass him for the lead. So I'm going to say right now, if Aaron Smith is able to hold out and Thorp gives it the most run for his money, he might have trouble overcoming that and taking the lead away from Aaron Smith.
So Dalton Kilroe is effectively going to be in based on where he's at. Still doing some math to figure out where everybody else is going to be, but it's so close, right? I mean, the margins are so fine. It's almost impossible to really get a good feel as to who's really going to win this, or even if this math is correct. It's not far off, but we're never going to really know until we get the word in post-race. And we'll look to definitely get you your playoff feel for the Final Four the second that, the very second that we get it ourselves. Meanwhile, Thorp trying to see if he can make something happen on Benjamin Lacey, but the both of them are still 3 seconds behind Aaron Smith, way up the road.
Lacey looked like he was driving a slight bit defensive going through turn number 1 there, coming out of 2. Thorp right on that back bumper. Hilbrand's looking to pounce as well, going down this backstretch here, going into turn number 3. Thorp still decides to stay behind Lacey, going through turns 3 and 4 here, does a little dive down to the inside of 4, but not enough momentum to get himself out and around Lacey coming out of the corner, so he's going to have to try and find another way around him.
And this could be critical. Thorp is absolutely needing every last point that he can muster here, because Dustin Ping is in a position that is a serious threat to that Mopar 34. He has got to hope that everything he's got is going to be enough for this one, but he might come up just a touch short. 23 laps to go. Now here's the big ticket question, I feel. Does Thorp try to just overtake Lacey here, or does he try to let Lacey pull him into Aaron Smith up the road? It looks like he's trying to get around him.
Yeah, it definitely looks like Thorp is trying to make that pass happen, but if you look, the last time that we looked at the leaderboard, Smith had a 4-second gap, and that's now down to 3 seconds. So the best thing those two can do right now is stay nose to tail and try and track down the leader here. But it looks like Aaron Smith had to overtake some lap traffic, so that gap may be a little tougher to close here. So it's going to be really tough for Thorp to really decide if he just wants to settle for a second or lock in behind Lacey and try and track down the leader.
Ty Marasco battled it out with Kevin Foster as well in the closing stages. He'll sweep through and make an easy move to get around the Mountain Dew number 8 Chevrolet. And meanwhile, just behind all of this, the battle for second. Aaron Smith out in front of David Leakey. So Smith holding quite a few cars a lap down, and these guys have got to battle through all of them if they want to get to the race lead. Critically, they are closing in on Aaron Smith, but Thorp is more focused on going for second, and he's going to look to push Benjamin Lacey up the racetrack.
Wow, what a gutsy move by Thorp, but man, he's that type of guy to pull that off, to make sure he gets that pass executed, dipped well below that dotted line to try and get underneath him. Does that again in turn 1, Lacey lets him by.
Lacey lets him have it. He knows he's safe. He doesn't need to fight with Thorp. He knows for a fact that he's got one more race to still take that win, and it is at a track that Lacey thrives at. Homestead Miami Speedway. Meanwhile, Aaron Smith now battling with cars that might be looking to unlap themselves. I think Ty Marasco caught the wall.
Yeah, Ty Marasco is going to continue to struggle with that damage that he has on that right front. Well, looks like maybe he got that repaired in the pits, but look at Thorp cutting down that lead on Smith. He must have been bottled up by Lacey, because now he's cut almost a full second into that gap, and he can really catch Smith here because of the fact that he now has some clean air and is able to track down the leader. He's now down to 2 seconds, when just a couple laps ago when he was behind Lacey, it was nearly 3 to 4 seconds.
Taylor Butcher Benjamin and Dustin Ping going for 5th and 6th. Ty Marasco going to unlap himself from both of them. Battles on for the final spot inside the top 5. Dustin Ping also trying to chase every point he can get. Dustin Ping and Michael Thorp Jr. know that they are the two drivers that are battling for that final spot, and every spot could make the difference.
Yeah, these guys need to give a lights out performance going into this, and it looks like Aaron Smith is beginning to catch Dustin Ping here. So Dustin Ping's going to really have to learn to drive lights out from here on out to try and get himself every opportunity to make it into the Final Four. One of the guys that I feel like is kind of an underdog spot going into the Final Four. He's just won his first race, I believe, just a handful of races ago. So a guy that has really kept himself in the position. Sorry, he has 0 race wins so far this season, but I believe he had his first podium the other day. So a guy that is kind of considered an underdog going into the Final Four, but can really earn himself the spot here with a good showing.
That's if he gets that spot as well. He is finally to the inside of Taylor Butcher Benjamin. Dustin Ping into 5th place. So Ping sweeps through. He's up to the number 5 spot. Meanwhile, Aaron Smith just behind. Still trying to see if he can keep Thorp at bay, but Thorp is closing about a 10th or 2 a lap.
Thorp is closing a 10th or 2 a lap. He is now down to just about a second on Aaron Smith. He still has the 3 cars in between him and the leader, though. We'll have to see if they get out of the way for him, or if they're going to continue to try and track down the leader to get their lap back. Thorp is going to have to be extremely aggressive here, and we know what happens when Thorp overdrives the car, so hopefully he has that patience to be able to execute those passes smoothly. I can see him doing that with how well he's been driving so far tonight. He gets the first lap car knocked out of the way, so now it's down to 2 cars going through turns 3 and 4.
He can taste that second victory. He's been chasing it ever since Dover, and from Dover season 1 before that. But Thorp has got the chance here to win his way into the Final Four if he can just get up to Aaron Smith. But the thing is, with Dustin Ping in 5th, you still don't know if it's going to be enough.
Yeah, Dustin Ping being in 5th is going to be a really tough ask for Thorp here. And I know with Thorp, we just saw him counter steering that wheel a little bit coming out of turn number 2. He's really going to be giving 110% from this car to try and get himself around these next 2 vehicles and up into contention with Aaron Smith. But he has what it takes within him to be able to pull off that kind of move.
Meanwhile, David Leakey and Kevin Foster are in a bit of a battle of their own, 7/10 of a second, so a bit of a loose battle. Taylor Butcher Benjamin is in the mix of them. Right now, you got a lot of cars that aren't really racing each other, but that are in a whole heap of trouble. David Leakey catches the wall. That brings him right back into the clutches of Kevin Foster. 1 car to go, and then Taylor Butcher Benjamin could be the one that could see Thorp's championship hopes either come to a crashing end, or to let him through and give him a shot to go at Aaron Smith here.
Yeah, Taylor Butcher Benjamin's the only thing stopping him for a chance at Aaron Smith here, and he's looking to the inside, going down the backstretch. He's going to take advantage of that opportunity. Taylor Butcher Benjamin letting him by here, so now there's 0 cars between Thorp and Aaron Smith. He's closed that gap down to just over a second here, and he's got around Dustin Ping to put Dustin Ping a lap down, so that puts another car between Thorp and Aaron Smith.
Aaron Smith, the gap down to just 9/10 of a second. Thorp still has 3 lap pressure tires. He has been utilizing those to their perfection all race long. No matter what happens at the end of the day, and no matter who ends up getting to the Final Four, we can certainly say that every driver that was here tonight, they have given it a hell of an effort to make it into the final show this afternoon. And boy, I think Aaron Smith might be wishing he was one of them. Every race he's been in, just about, he has been in control of. But right now, he hasn't been in too much control of this one. He's had a lot of lap traffic to help him, and a lot of that traffic is gone. Thorp gonna lack Dustin Ping.
Thorp looking to the inside of Dustin Ping. Dustin Ping not giving up much of a fight. So once again, Thorp tracking down the rearview mirror of Aaron Smith, closing that gap half a second now.
Oh, trouble behind!
He's got 8 laps.
David Leakey going around, contact with Benjamin Lacey. They're nearly spotted on the front stretch.
Oh, as they make contact once again, Taylor Butcher Benjamin hit the right side front tire there of David Leakey going through that corner. David able to keep control of that car, but he is reeling quick now. Hilbrand's looking to try and find his way around him as well. Not going to happen though. Going through 3-4, so Leakey able to recover just a little bit, but not a good move right here with 8 laps to go. That gave Thorp in that little bit of time just another 10th to close in on Aaron Smith. We got 7 laps to go with Aaron Smith just barely hanging on to the lead here.
The gap is down to 0.3 of a second. Thorp has been closing in 0.2 a lap. It was 1/10 a lap before. Thorp's there. Smith's under fire. This race isn't over yet.
Thorp having an epic recovery from that final pit stop that set him a little behind Aaron Smith here. Caught right back up to him. Another mistake-free ride from Thorp so far tonight to put himself in this position. This is exactly what he needs to do to get himself locked into the Final Four, is have a very clean race, which he's done so far tonight. He cannot be pushing too hard to try and overtake Aaron Smith for this final position on the podium. So he needs to keep that drive to continue to clean, and it continue to be clean. And going through 3 and 4, he's looking to the inside of Aaron Smith.
Trying to see if he can get in there. 5 laps to go. This time by side drag race off the final corner. Thorp's got the inside line for the #1 spot. Now we can put Thorp up into the lead. No, not yet. Oh boy, is he just taking Smith out? Smith's into the wall. He blinked out at the worst time, and Thorp forced to yield. We're not done fighting yet.
Oh my goodness, that blink couldn't have been timed any better because there was no way Thorp was able to keep it from getting into Aaron Smith with how fast he was going into that corner. And that's what Thorp cannot be doing right now. If he's able to just stay patient for these next couple of laps, he can really just beat him on outright paces. Here we go again. He's going to make the same mistake as he blinks out this time and nearly takes out Aaron Smith once again. He needs to slow up just a little bit. If he could go on his sheer pace alone, he can overtake Aaron Smith for the lead, but that's not Michael Thorp's style. He's the kind of guy that's going to give it 110%, and we're going to have to see if that's going to cost him or not tonight.
He's made contact with drivers for the win before. We saw it at Dover on an overtime restart. We could very well be seeing at the end now that a championship could be on the line. 3 laps to go, and Thorp is right there.
Thorp, I think, realizing this time around that he needs to finish second at least if he wants to make the championship. So he cannot be making those super aggressive moves just to get the race win here. So he really needs to fall in behind here, Aaron Smith. But I think if he can get a good run coming out of this corner here, he might have a chance entering in 1 to get alongside him and try and battle for the win with 2 laps to go.
2 laps left on the docket. Aaron Smith tracking up all the way to the outside wall in 1 and 2. Thorp trying to size him up down the Boeing backstretch. The number 34 Mopar looking for the inside. Another blink from Smith. Thorp this time. He's got the inside line coming around. 3 and 4. 1 lap to go at the Darlington Raceway. And it's all to play for. The race that will go flag to flag. And it's going to play host to one of the most dramatic playoff elimination races you could ever see. Thorp on the track gets into Smith big time. Thorp sweeps up, and now he's got one more chance. It's got to be down into turn 3. It's all or it's nothing. Will he be going to the final 4? Will he be going home? Aaron Smith trying to hang on. Thorp steps it in, punches Aaron Smith off the racetrack. Down to turn numbers 3 and 4. They make contact once and twice. Off the corner. Another drag race out to the right. Just like Dover, they wreck. Smith wins. Thorp in second. Is it enough? Is it enough for Thorp to make it into the final 4?
4/100ths of a second may make or break his season end. Right now, we'll have to wait to see how the final standings come up. But holy crap, what an epic ending to this absolutely brilliant race between Aaron Smith and Thorp Jr. to find themselves side by side coming along the start and finish line.
Holy cow. I don't know if that was enough. Thorp didn't get it done. Smith won the race. Smith taking another race win on the season. Was that enough? That is going to be the big ticket question that everybody's going to be asking ourselves at the end of the night. They made contact for sure. Very reminiscent of Dover. Oh boy. We'll have to wait for official confirmation. We're going to say nothing. What is certain is that it's your race winner, Aaron Smith, at the end of the day. And how about that? 10 out of 10 form. Look at the burnouts from Aaron Smith. That is legendary.
I have never seen donuts like that in my entire life. Holy cow.
That
looked
was
like something
awesome.
straight out of the Olympics. That looked like straight out of the Olympics. I think he stole that one from the Paris Olympics playbook.
Conservation of momentum. That was absolutely epic. Oh boy. What a drive. Let's take another look while we're waiting for the official word on the final lap coming down off of turn number 4. This was them coming to the white flag. There was nothing between them. Pushed him up the racetrack in turn numbers 1 and 2, and then Thorp knew he had to go for it. Down to the 3 and 4. Look at the send that he gave that 70 car. Thorp knew he could not afford to waste time. And then off of turn 4, coming to the stripe right when it all matters. Smith came off the wall. Thorp got loose. They made contact. Smith got turned around and just barely hung on for the race win. That's almost like what we saw in the Busch Grand National race just a day before the Ricky Craven and Kurt Busch photo finish.
Yeah, that was such an epic finish. Those guys fought tooth and nail down to the very last corner of the very last lap. And this is reminiscent of also Michael Thorp Jr.'s last win that I believe that was how he won his last race, finished sideways in a near photo fashion to take his win, as just about a half a car between him and Aaron Smith to create what was such an amazing finish.
Holy cow, what a ride. And then this is just, look at that car. It's tipping up on 2 wheels on the burnout. No wonder. Absolutely lit the left rear up. I've never seen a burnout like that. That was amazing. That has got to go to the iRacing Top 10 highlights for best burnout of all time.
I would have to agree with that. I've never seen anything like that before in my life, and it was so cool to watch him just be able to constantly spin on that, just those 2 tires there and conserve that momentum, as you stated earlier. It was a great burnout, my favorite by far. I'll never forget that moment.
Well, we have the confirmation as to who will be in to the final show this afternoon. Benjamin Lacey locked into the final 4. Dalton Kilrow locked in. Hilbrand's locked in. The final driver, though, Dustin Ping. Shire and Thorp
Oh.
were tied for the first spot out, 2 points short. Gave it everything, but with Ping being up in 5th, even a win wouldn't have stopped the inevitable. But my God, what a hell of an effort to get Thorp up there, and I think he can at least walk away proud of knowing he did everything he possibly could. He needed the 0x. That's all he needed.
Yep. And that was going to be a tough ask from Darlington Raceway to have a 0x race and a win at the same token. So heartbreak news to receive that Thorp is out. But man, for Dustin Ping, what an epic season for him. A guy that's been considered an underdog with no wins this season has found his way into the final race with the chance to put himself on the podium for the league for the season.
Well, with all that said and done, we can at the very least take a look at your official post-race results. After what has got to be one of the most wild finishes we've seen in a while at this racetrack, Aaron Smith by 400 takes the win over Michael Thorp Jr. Benjamin Lacey brings it up in 3rd. Dalton Kilroe was 4th. Dustin Ping with a top 5 finish locks himself into the final 4. Taylor Butcher Benjamin was in 6th. Scott Shire 7th. Hilbrand's 8th. Williams 9th. And Marasco rounds out the top 10.
11th was David Leakey, 12th Kevin Foster, 13th was Brian Dees, 14th Nick Nickerson, Jason Greenwell, Bob Berry, Zachary Wareham, Connor Gibson, all finishing in the pits tonight.
My goodness. Oh, an absolutely insane race this afternoon, and we're going to get the chance to speak to everybody here at the end of the night. We're going to be looking to dial up first and foremost the driver that comes home as the race winner, Aaron Smith. He takes another win, but this one about the hardest he's had to fight for a win in a while. Aaron, first off, that burnout, teach me your ways, my good sir. That was nothing short of incredible.
Oh, yeah, you just got to whip that thing around and send it spinning there. Just get all the inertia you can get. That's all the fuel I had left in it.
I could tell, but you come home at the end of this race. I mean, you're fighting it out with some of the best as always, and you had the fight of your life on your hands in the final 10 laps there. It comes to blows on the exit of the final corner. Talk us through your race tonight.
Yeah, I knew I didn't have the long run pace to keep up with them at the front, but I knew that I could get in and out of the pit so much better than everybody else. So I think that was the only real thing I had on the field tonight. But yeah, I ruined my tires in that last stop, or the last stint there, and didn't really have anything for Thorp when he caught me. But I was able to keep it in the 2nd and 3rd lanes and kind of keep him down on the bottom, and I guess I was just able to edge him out there. Did I have an effect on the points there?
Good to say you did not. With Ping finishing top 5, it would have gone down that way regardless. Thorp had already gotten rid of his 0x by the time you guys started battling, but obviously one race left to go. Are we going to be seeing you in Miami, or will this be a case where we'll be seeing you next year?
Wasn't even trying to run tonight. Tony was in my DMs talking about coming over and racing, so I figured I'd do it and see where I stack up. But I guess I ended up pulling it out there. So yeah, I think this will be the end of the season for me. I don't want to cause any more trouble than I already have, so I'm gonna stick around and watch from the sidelines next week.
Well, we'll get set to see how everything's going to pan out for you when we go racing. Well, whenever we see you on the track next. Aaron, holy cow, what a finish, and we're going to get set to see you whenever we see you on the track next. But thanks for coming out and putting on a good show for us this afternoon.
10-4, thank you.
Aaron Smith comes out of this one with the race win, and yet another race win at that. It was an absolutely thrilling drive for him. We'll move on down to Michael Thorp Jr., no doubt a lot of mixed feelings for the number 34. And, well, Josh, I'll pass this one off to you.
Yeah, Thorp, I mean, double heartbreak for tonight's finish, considering that you were just 8 or 4 100ths of a second off of taking that win, and then just 2 points outside of making that final 4. Just tell me what you're feeling right now as you ended that race, and I know you put so much effort into finding your way towards that front.
Surprised. I'm not really frustrated. I'm just, hey, happy with the end of the season. It's just 2 points short. Really wish I could have got it, but hey, that net code at the very end when I knocked him back to the right, that's what got me. But hey, it is what it is. Just gotta come back stronger next season.
Yeah, speaking of next season, well, let's reflecting on back on this season real quick. I think you've had so many opportunities to find yourself towards the front, which has made you a very strong competitor towards the end. It's very heartbreaking to see that you didn't get your chance to make it into the final four for next race, but looking forward to next season, I have high hopes that you will be able to find yourself towards the top four. What are you going to give us next week to show us that you're ready for the next season?
Homestead is not my best track, I'll give you that much. But hey, I'm just gonna try to run as hard as I can, like I did today.
I think you really gave 110% effort out there tonight. So it's kudos to you for being able to finish the second spot on the podium and have such a great race, to have such a great finish. It's showing that you have such a promising future here in the High Tide Racing League. Is there anybody you'd like to thank for your second place finish tonight?
Thanks to my dad, who's cheering me on 100% of the way. And shout out to my school, UNH, and Team Watson for making things happen for me.
All right, we appreciate you taking the time with us to talk with us tonight, Thorp. Sorry that that the points didn't pan out for you tonight, but good luck to you in your next race. Next up, we have Benjamin Lacey, who ended up sitting in third place tonight, and he will be standing by with Nolan.
Oh boy, I mean, it was a wild race all around, and for Benjamin Lacey, there was no exception. Ben, you were up there fighting for the podium spots. You were fighting for the win. At the end of the day, you ended up with about the best front row seat one could ask for the titanic battle that we saw for the race win. But with this third place finish, you officially lock yourself into the final four. How does it feel knowing you're going to be going to Miami to defend your title?
Oh man, I didn't know if I was going to make it this season for it. So yeah, I mean, it feels good to be back fighting for it. It's going to be a tough crowd. Lots of good competition there for it, so it's going to be a good time. We'll see what happens when the lights go on.
Overall, it's been a great drive for you all throughout the course of this season. I mean, this race at Darlington, it looked like you're almost taking it a little bit easier. I mean, obviously you had a big points gap entry today, and with only 18 cars, it looked like you were just about ready to go. But are we going to be seeing you taking it so casually when we go racing next week as well?
Gloves are definitely off next week. Tony and I are teammates, so gloves will be off between us next week. But we'll race each other hard and with respect for everybody out there. So yeah, we're just gonna have to run our race and really not worry about what other people are doing, and just finish as high as we possibly can, and hope for the best.
All right, we'll get set to see you on the track one more time next Monday to close out the season. Congratulations on taking another podium finish this afternoon, and we'll see you back on track 1 week from today.
Thank you very much.
Benjamin Lacey in that Real Earth Films Mopar. Just one race to go before he is going to be in it for a championship. Holy cow, I am still at a loss for words. Never before have I seen a more dramatic championship race like this pan out. At least an elimination race. There's still a long way to go before we fully close out the season, which will be taking place at the Homestead Miami Speedway 1 week from now. Josh, I would ask if you have any favorites, but with the season we've had, it's anybody's game.
Oh, 100%. I really can't tell you who's going to be on top at the end of the race. What I can tell you is I'm actually really sad that we are already approaching the final season of the High Tide Racing League, because it has been such an epic show from start to finish, and I don't want it to end. I'm like one of those guys that, you're watching your favorite TV show and it's like, I know the season finale's coming up, but I don't want it to be. So, yeah, it's been such a great race, and I'm excited for the Homestead race next week, but I'm also it's a little bittersweet because it's been so fun to call this season so far, and it's really sad to know that that's the finale coming up.
There is still a long way to go before we get to that final race next week. We'll, of course, have the OMSRL Cup Series back for more when they go racing down to the Sonoma Raceway this coming Tuesday. Don't forget as well to check out the Beer League on Wednesday night for more racing action at Braselton, Georgia, down at Road Atlanta. And then, of course, the Speed Cup Series is out at the action track on Thursday night. But who am I kidding? We're all looking forward to next week, Monday. 4 Titans will get set to enter the final battleground of the season. Who will come away with the championship with only one being able to be left standing at the end of that final race of the season? Will it be Benjamin Lacey? Will it be none other than Dalton Kilroe? Will it be Tony Hilbrands? Or will it be Dustin Ping, who just barely managed to squeak himself into the final championship ride? If you want to find out the answer to that question, be sure to subscribe today. We'll be with you for every single lap from start to finish. My name is Will Rempel, alongside Josh Baird. 1 race to go! We'll decide the championship in Miami. We'll see you all there.